Welcome to Scale with Clarity, the podcast for entrepreneurs who are building a business and a life that actually feels good. I'm Brooke, fractional CFO, strategist, and mom of three, and I've learned that scaling isn't just about hitting revenue milestones. It's about finding alignment between your big vision and your everyday reality. Each week, you'll hear honest conversations with founders who are redefining success on their own terms. We'll talk about the pivots, the aha moments, and the tough decisions behind the scenes. Plus, the surprising ways entrepreneurship becomes the greatest personal growth journey of all. Whether you're dreaming of leaving corporate, navigating the messy middle, or trying to grow without burning out, this show is here to help you scale with more clarity, confidence, and ease. Because building a business should expand you, not deplete you. Let's scale with clarity together. You guys, if you've watched my podcast before, you'll know that there's a little bit of an upgrade here. So you've seen the
a little different from usual?
A little bit of a different scene here, but I'm feeling super legit being here. I'm going to let Cam introduce himself. That you see my guest here is we actually used to work together. We were trying to figure out how many years ago now.
I don't want to think about how many years ago that was.
I know, it
too
kind of
much.
ages. Well, me certainly, but probably you too, is depending, because we worked for a while.
We were Discovery, now Warner Brothers Discovery, soon to be back to Discovery again,
and
however
Netflix,
you want to call it.
And then I don't know who
Paramount is back in the mix. I don't know. That's going to age this episode quite a bit, if depending on what happens.
I have to tell you, that's what I love doing this podcast, because I get a chance to not only talk to new people and meet them, but I'm reconnecting with others too. So that was why, so not for this podcast, but we connected and you started telling me your story. And I'm like, you have got to come tell the listeners your story of how you left and kind of leaving your W-2 job and starting, which I want to get into.
Yeah.
But as we were talking about it, so Cam is a sort of a professional producer. And when I talked about coming on my podcast, which I do in my office and edit myself, I'm like, this feels like maybe I should defer to you, who's the expert, who actually has a beautiful studio that we record into.
It's just like, we got it here. We might as well. Right? And then I get to see you not over a Zoom call.
Which is a great
nice
excuse. Exactly. Yeah. So we're going to have to do this again, obviously.
For sure. Yeah.
But can you just introduce yourself? Talk about the company you own now, and then I want to take us back to when we first worked together.
So I'm Cameron Harris. I'm a co-owner of Purple Donut Studios. We're a video production and marketing agency that's based out of Frederick, Maryland. So we do stuff like this. We do podcasting a lot, but we also do like cinematic commercials, interviews, weddings. We do sometimes event stuff, like any kind of video stuff, but really focused on the quality of it. We try to bring like it's cinema quality stuff to whatever we're doing, but doing it at, in a way that's actually accessible for a lot of we work with like a lot of small, medium businesses all the way up to like Smithsonian's. We do a lot of work with them too, which is based on a connection through Discovery, actually.
It's so interesting. And my business mind wants to have a whole nother interview with you on how the industry has changed and people with content creation and social media and how we're doing it our own. I just talked about my podcast, but the need for a business like yours to really kind of elevate it a little bit and how that can really set you apart, especially as a small business owner. We can have a whole nother episode about that.
That's a whole other thing. We could have recurring quarterly episodes about that.
The need for that. But take me back. So when we first met, so you talk about what your business is now. You've always kind of been interested in that and done that. And that's how we met. That was what you were doing for Discovery back in the day, correct?
Yeah. I was a video editor and producer. But I was really just kind of in general video production, going on shoots, editing things, producing, that was on what they called the multi-platform team, which was short form social media stuff. Some of our stuff ended up on broadcast, but it was a lot of behind the scenes content and interviews and things like that were kind of supporting the main episodes that were on air.
And we don't need to revisit necessarily the change in the media industry, but we know there's been continuous change in how content's being created and just the mergers and acquisitions and layoffs and everything that's been going on. But did you always know you wanted to go out on your own? What was your mindset around that?
I was lucky that I figured out I wanted to do video and media very early on.
Yeah.
So I was in high school and I was going out or shooting my own stuff. I was teaching myself how to edit and run a camera.
You are one of the lucky few. I feel like I talked to so many people like, I still don't know what I really enjoy.
I'm very grateful for that. I had an upbringing that gave me a lot of flexibility to try different things. For a while, I thought I wanted to be an architect.
So funny. I feel like that too. I'm like, I like building IKEA furniture. I probably means
absolutely. Like the IKEA.
It's like an adult version of Legos. Right.
100%. Oh, and I have plenty of the Lego stuff too, like building stuff and creating that stuff.
I'm like, I should have been an architect. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so it turns out architecture involves a lot of math, which is not what I enjoy the
No.
most. So I was like I was thinking like, oh, I'm going to go down the architecture route. And then my parents were like, you're doing this video stuff on the side. You could do that as a job.
How
Like,
good of them to like identify. I'm thinking about my kids too and like their interests and what I see them doing things because they think they should versus what I see what they really are interested in. So kudos to them for.
Oh yeah. The number of parents who would say to their kid, hey, we know you want to go into this very lucrative like left brain thing, but what if you went to art school instead?
You know what? We want you to get more into video and like, yeah.
So I was very lucky that I was able to go into that very early on.
Yeah.
And then I went to college for that out in San Francisco, and I started interning with Discovery.
Yeah.
Because they had an office in San Francisco. So I was, I interned with them for a couple semesters and then actually kept just doing freelance work for them. Because I was like, I could get minimum wage working at, McDonald's, or I could get minimum wage doing the thing I actually want to do and get the experience. So I kept up with that and then eventually moved out here to the East Coast, just following my connections to the Discovery mothership, which was in Silver Spring, Maryland. And freelanced with them for a while. Now, at this point, like I was in college, I was fresh out of college. My thinking had always been, I want to start my own production company.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have family that was entrepreneur? Or you were like, I just want to be able to work for myself. Like, what was that?
Both mom and dad were big entrepreneurs. My dad was a music producer. His office and studio was in our house when I was growing up. My mom was a school teacher formerly, but she ran an online tea business for a while when I was a kid. So there's photos of me like helping her pack orders and stuff, and
super cool. So like from a young age, kind of bred in you of like follow your passion, see what you can do. Okay.
Yeah. And also seeing like when I was learning video production, I was being taught by people who had their own production companies, who had been, had built up this stuff. And I was like, that's super cool. The flexibility, the creativity, the variety of stuff that you do.
Yeah.
So it was never my intention. Like I was freelancing. So I was freelancing for Discovery when I came out here. I was also freelancing for AARP and a couple of other companies. And I also had some, smaller clients I was doing some work for, like video production, social media stuff. The thing that changed was I was freelancing for the TLC team, which is what I ended up staying with. I was freelancing for them, and their lead video editor, who was like a W-2 full-time employee, left. And I got word that they were leaving because I was working with them as a freelance editor, supporting them. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, ooh, opportunity.
Yeah.
So I talked to, the powers that be about, hey, you've got this slot that's going to be opening up. Would you be interested in, potentially having me fill that? And they were. And then that, flash forward 7 years and I was still doing it. Same team, same role, same kind of work.
Pause right there. Sorry to interrupt. But as you full-time W-2, were you still doing stuff on the side the whole time? Or had you gone fully in just TLC Discovery?
I was fully in.
Okay.
Like I went full company.
Because on purpose or just it was taking up time and you couldn't kind of do stuff on the side anymore? Like what was the...
It was kind of a time thing.
Yeah.
I knew plenty of people who were the kind of person that could say, I'm a W-2, like I've got my 9 to 5 doing video or whatever it was they were doing at TLC. But then as soon as, my 5 to 9 is I'm working on, there were so many people who had documentaries they had been working on for like 3 years and doing all this stuff. For me, for whatever reason, like I love what I do. I absolutely adore what I do. The idea of doing that 9 to 5, going home and then spending my nights and weekends doing that more.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like for whatever reason, I got super burned out very quickly. Yeah. And like honestly, I started to get kind of burned out on it in general. Just because of the sameness of it. Like that's the thing about you're a W-2 employee. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, you're doing like very similar stuff every day, day in, day out. When I first started, we were doing a lot of experimental creative things. And then like around when COVID happened, like, I was very grateful to have a W-2 job during COVID because I know that hit freelancers especially hard, especially in our industry. So I was very lucky to have that, but it really just kind of took the scope of what we did and just shrunk it down to this tiny little fraction of what it used to be.
You know, it's interesting hearing you say that too, because I do hear some people say the other side, like a W-2 job for them is consistency and they know what to expect and they can kind of do it. And they look at that as like a benefit. But I think hearing from you, a couple things. One is, I think a natural entrepreneurial mindset likes to do a bunch of different things.
Yes.
And you can feel constricted, but you, especially in a creative industry, I can understand how that is like like it could be one of the worst things you're doing. Like, and you said, especially during COVID, shrinking it down, you're not able to like flex those creative muscles as much anymore,
100%.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going on shoots
Yeah.
anymore. We weren't really coordinating anything like
Yeah.
that. It really just became you're making a TikTok out of a longer video. And that
Yeah.
was like just it every single day. And got bored of that pretty quick.
Which is also telling. So others listening too, I want to say, like, I think when you start feeling those feelings of, even if it's something you've loved historically, but you start feeling that constriction, that boredom, like there's something in there, like you clearly lost what you loved about this, you know, whether it was the variety, whether it was working with different clients or different things or different short form versus long form. Like, I think there's telling when sometimes we feel that. And I think some people just are like, well, that's just work, you know, but I think there's something in there that you can dig into and be like, I'm losing the part that I really love. And, you know, like you're in the realm of it, but you're losing parts of it.
And I was even aware that that was happening.
Yeah.
I had been full-time for probably like 5 years, something like that. And it just became so like, I don't want to say that it's like, you know, what's the term when you're like, like when you've been like kidnapped and you start to think that it's actually like, what is that?
I don't know. We'll edit it in.
Yeah, we'll edit that in. Just I'll cover my mouth.
I was like, analysis paralysis? No,
Stockholm syndrome. I was thinking Switzerland, Sweden. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, you're very close. Okay,
close.
So you were there.
I don't want to go as far as to say that it's Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
But you do definitely I got really used to it of like, okay, this is, you know, is it like the most creative thing? Is it fulfilling? No, but I know what I'm doing every day when I wake up. And like there's a part of my brain that enjoys structure and like doesn't like the unknown, which you don't really have much of the unknown when you're working, you know, a 9-to-5 W-2 job. You have a lot of that when you go out on your own, which we can talk about
a ton. And I think that's what I know that's what stops a ton of people. But it's interesting because now more often I keep saying it's actually the unknown. You think you're safe, you think that you know, but like the change that is coming in people's jobs, people getting laid off and work being put on you, your job, like there's actually, again, maybe it's, I don't know what the syndrome is or what that's called, but there's something around like the fear that's unknown, but it's still there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, and so it's like, as you can bring it to light, I want to tell people like, it's actually almost maybe not a riskier scenario to go out on your own because you're dealing with that every day. You just don't know it. You know?
Oh, absolutely. So the thing that was the trigger that made me leave Discovery, I would love to say that I was very brave and said, you know what, I'm doing this, I'm going out on my own. No, I got laid off. Like I was essentially forced into, okay, you are making a career change now. What are you going to do with that?
And at that point, you hadn't picked up freelancing on the side. So were you kind of...
I had nothing. I had created an LLC. I had created, like, I had filed the legal paperwork to have my own entity because I had gotten to the point where I was so like creatively just stymied that I wanted something. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the nights and weekends. I'm going to do something and I'll create the LLC for that. Created the LLC and sat on it for like 6 months, you know, didn't do anything.
I want to pause there too, because what's coming up for me as you're telling this, and then I want to talk about your actual exit. But I think a lot of people, like you said, coming up and as you were freelancing before you took your W-2 job, you saw a lot of other people who own their production studios or had done. So you saw the art of what was possible.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people maybe in non-creative roles that I talk to who are at this burnout place or whatever, they just don't even know it's possible. And that is actually my hope with this podcast is that you hear these stories. And so even when you were laid off, correct me if I'm wrong, but you at least knew what was options out there, you know, where I think a lot of people are like, well, I got to just look for another job, you know, like go this same route and put my resume out there. And I love sharing the idea that there's actually so much more. It's like you take those horse blinders off, right? And you're like, you can do it in so many different ways. So I want to point that out too, because I do think that that's such a thing. Like you don't know what you don't know until you see it, you know, others doing it. And so anyways.
And I was lucky enough that I knew even like we had freelancers who were working for us at Discovery, and I was actually on my team. I was the one kind of managing a lot of the day-to-day of like the freelance editors and stuff. There was one guy in particular, Steve Webb, shout out to Steve Webb from Aspire Studios, who I worked with him and his team a lot on projects. And he was one of the first calls I made when I left, because I was like, you've been doing this. He had been doing it for like a few years before I left. And we still stay in touch to this day, because I see him as kind of like he's always like a few years ahead of where I have been in my journey, all the way from like business stuff to like, we had our kids like a couple years apart. So he was like, he had his
he's like
kid.
the first mover, and then like the
Exactly.
first mover advantage. And
I'm just like,
you're like,
I'm
okay,
just
what
like,
do I do next?
I'm just like, Steve, what are the pitfalls? Like, you've been
When's it
through
time to
this.
have my second child? I don't know. When should we move? Like, just look to him.
Yeah, seriously. And so like, I was lucky enough to see like, okay, there's a lot of possibility here. Even with that, there was a part of, when I got laid off, there was a part of me in my head that was like, oh, well, you got to just go find another job, because you need that stability.
Thank you for saying that, because even if you know what's possible, that doesn't mean there's not going to be fear. There's absolutely fear of the change and
100%.
Unknown, and it is a big risk. I mean, anything you do.
And a lack of, for me, I think there was also a certain amount of like a lack of confidence that I could pull it off.
Yeah.
Or even that it was like the right thing for my family.
Yeah.
Because like at the time, my wife and I had been married for a few years.
Yeah.
We were looking at having a kid, and the idea of like, oh, starting a business, and right when we're about to have our first baby, that sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
That being said, Kate was incredibly supportive, and she was the one who actually said, look, if you don't try this now, at least try it. She was like, we had an agreement of like, try it for a year. If you come to a year of like, you've been doing this freelance video thing, and it's like, it's just, you're getting nowhere, then look for another job.
I want to pause there too. I love that, because now my CFO hat on, and what I tell people is like, I love that idea of setting a specific time. And usually you need to know your financial numbers. You need to know what your runway is, what your savings is, which a lot of people actually don't. I mean, I don't know if it's surprising or not, but don't know.
Sure.
Like, what do you actually spend a month, and what do you have? But I love that, because that, I won't put words in your mouth, but that can at least give you, okay, I've got like a little bit of breathing room, because when it's too constricted and you're like, in 1 month, I've got to get this to work. It's 100% certainty it won't work, because you've put too much of a tight hold around it too.
And it's impossible to get it working in a month. Like,
you were talking about that before we started recording.
No, it takes time. And that was the fact that, I was laid off meant that there was a runway kind of built into that. Also, the fact that my wife works full time, had health insurance. That was the other big thing of like, I think for a lot of people, if you don't have access to health insurance through an employer, that immediately makes things more difficult.
Same. And I want to acknowledge that, because same with me, my husband has the health. So it allowed me to be kind of, I always say like I was the stock that was like high risk, potential high reward, but I didn't have, he's at the corporate job, as safe as again, but like he had the health insurance or whatever. So it allowed that offset to,
Yeah. And so that is, I was very lucky and fortunate to have that accessible. If those who don't, man, I feel for you, because it makes it so much more difficult.
Yeah.
Is it impossible? No, but it does mean you have
additional stuff to think about, and then expenses, which are much higher if you're on your own. Yes. From an insurance perspective.
Yeah. And it just gets worse as you get older. So more reason to maybe do it young.
So stop aging, I guess. So that's one message we're telling everyone.
Just stop aging. Like, my gosh.
Don't get older. Stay young.
I'm starting to do it now, and I'm like, man, this sucks. I'm going to return
Well, you
this.
have a child. They will age you faster than anything.
Oh,
is
man.
what I've learned.
Yes.
But you know what? You did say, like, one of the fears was you guys wanted to start, like, we're starting a family, we're doing this. But I do think the other flip side of that coin is the flexibility it does allow. Now you've got to, but like, I mean, and you can go into this too. I know you said when you went on your own, like you kind of structured your day where you can come into the office the mornings, you can be at home. And so there is that too. It's not easy. But like it does allow that amount of to build the business around the life that you want.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and the other thing that I'll say too. So when I first started doing this, I mean, I hit the ground running, and I was reaching out to like, my old contacts that I had known from my previous work.
Talk about that too. Cause I think that a lot of people are like, where do I even start? Like,
it is
what's the first thing?
I mean, as it is with most things in the business world, it is who you know.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know. Welcome to my podcast. This is how it goes. There was just, Oprah Winfrey just interviewed somebody, it doesn't matter, but he's a international entrepreneur. And they just talked about, it was like last week. So whenever this airs, so you guys can look it up. But they said 45 is actually the best age to start a business.
Oh, interesting.
Because, and a lot of people are talking about like in your 20s, just go out or whatever, but because you've built 20 plus years of a network.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so underutilized and like not talked about. And I think we're going there too, but it's like the people you know are the ones that are going to be your first call.
1,000%. And the people that I reached out to were all people that I had known or met through discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So like, this is the thing is like, yes, there's a lot of volatility in the workspace right now. People come, people go, contractors come and expire, and then, people leave and go to other companies, all that stuff. And that happened a lot at Discovery.
Yeah.
I was kind of an odd duck. I stuck around at Discovery a lot longer than plenty of other people that I knew.
Yeah.
But what that meant was there were so many people that I had met, worked with, and then they left.
Yeah.
And I equate it to like, it's like the seeds flying off the dandelion and spreading out. So as long
and then they end up somewhere, but then they know people at that new place. Like
Exactly.
It's like you don't know how broad that gets
100%.
to be.
Now you have to maintain the contact.
Yeah.
Like I fully admit I was not the best at staying in contact with people when they left Discovery and they left my sphere.
Yeah.
I tried somewhat, but that was not something that came naturally to me. I was very lucky that when I did eventually reach out to people after I left, it was like, hey, we haven't spoken in like 5 years, but and fortunately, like a lot of them were very nice. They understand how it works. And like, I mean, when I met them, I was like, 20, 21, 22.
Also thinking about like long-term networking opportunities. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was, if I had to say, like, so if I was starting this like fresh out of college, it would be so much more difficult because you don't, I mean, there are still ways to build that network.
We can talk about that. And it's the networking, all the formal networking channels that you can go down, like
internships, even like your instructors. Like when I was in college, I still stay in touch with a lot of my instructors back then who are in the industry. And I have gotten referrals and jobs from my former instructors. Yeah.
When you reached out, sorry to interrupt too, but like when you reached out, did you reach out with a specific ask? Did you know exactly what you wanted to do? Like these are the services I'm going to offer. Because I think that's a lot for people too. And you may be unique having freelance before and kind of seen it, but I think there's certain functional expertise where people are like, I don't even know where to start. Like, what would I charge? What are my services? Like, how did you think through that?
Okay. So what I offered, that was a fairly straightforward thing. I make videos. Now there's a lot of elements of that of like, can I shoot? Yes. Can I edit? Yes. Can I help you plan things? Yes. But for the most part, at that point, it was shooting and editing was my main thing. What do you charge for that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How
did you just like, what did that look like?
I was pulling numbers out of thin air, just thinking like, this feels right.
Yeah.
And like,
did you look at what others were charging? And
somewhat, but that's a remarkably difficult thing. So this is something that I wish, I hope can change in the creative field, in the entrepreneurial fields as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the case too, even if you're a W-2 employee, there's that kind of unspoken taboo of like, oh, we don't talk about our salary.
Yeah.
And I remember there were a couple times where that taboo did break with some people I knew at Discovery, where suddenly it was like, oh, you make this much and you make that much. You should be making more than that if you're doing that. And it was like, oh, we can actually like
pull the curtain up.
This benefits everyone to kind of see, okay, where's the actual middle ground? Same thing in the freelance space, talking about, okay, how do you price this? How do you calculate that? What is the math of that? Pricing is something that has only very recently actually, and I'm probably 4 or 5 years into this journey at this point with a team now.
Yeah.
Like this has only very recently become easier. Something clicked in, and it was the fact that I have overhead now.
Yeah.
So like, I know what the rate of like the people who are, behind the camera right now, I know, okay, I've got this project. I know what it's going to cost me to pay them.
Yeah.
Therefore, I know how much it costs me. Okay, what's my margin? Add that to it.
Cam, this is the biggest thing too, because I almost like having a product-based business is very difficult in itself. You have to manage inventory, et cetera. But to exact that point, you know what your costs are, you mark them up 20%, and that's what you go to market with. Service-based is so hard, not only because you don't have that, which you talked about, but it is almost like you're valuing yourself. You're like, how much am I worth? And it gets back to your confidence, your ego, especially when you're going out on your own. Like it's so hard for people coming from their W-2, which can say, okay, well, HR told me what the band was. And now you have to charge yourself for an hourly rate or like a set product. It's like the hardest thing because you got to do this internal work, I think, too, to deal with that.
And you've got clients who are always trying to, I mean, rightly
Yeah.
so, they're trying to negotiate with you.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, gosh, I remember when I was first starting
Yeah.
stuff, I look back at like what I was charging for things or even the projects I would
Yeah.
accept. Now, granted, when you're first starting out, it's like, you'll do anything.
Yeah.
I'll take anything. It's like, oh, you want me to go to like I literally had this one where it's like, oh, you want me to go to a birthday party for like a family member and like record like videos of people wishing them a happy birthday. Done.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
there.
All right.
It's like I'm not
You're
doing
like
anything else that day.
$50 for the full day to do like, yeah.
Literally, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's like, oh, it's just me. It's my time. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't cost me anything to go
Yeah.
down
I'm not
there.
giving up anything, but you are giving up your time and
That's
the
the thing.
opportunity to do something for a higher value somewhere else, too.
100%.
And I think that's certainly the case as you're reaching out and starting out. You're trying to bring in work, you're trying to bring in clients, you're learning what your value is. And I think one of the key things in that learning is not just your value, but what you like and don't like too, you know? And I'm assuming through your last 5 years, you've learned like, I like doing this kind of work, not this kind, or this type of client, you know, probably not this one. You maybe start figuring out like what you will say yes to and at what price point and what maybe you'll say no to.
Yeah. Oh man, the first time you say no to a client,
How'd that feel?
oh my gosh. I was like hyperventilating in the corner. I've gotten better at it.
Yeah.
It's still terrifying. The
Yeah.
whole thing is still terrifying. But it gets better.
Yeah.
And it kind of becomes like a flywheel where it's like the more you start to do stuff, the more momentum there is built into it, and the less you have to be constantly
Yeah.
pushing and turning that
Is
crank.
that what it felt like to begin with? Like you said, you reached out to people you knew or had worked with before or whatever. I think we've talked about offline, but you did a lot of formal networking, like through chamber events and stuff to get clients, right? A lot of people I talk to, it's like, you don't know, you're like planting the seeds and you've got to just trust that it's leading you somewhere.
Yes.
And you don't know until it starts working. You're like, oh yeah, all that paid off. Is that the case for like, was there like a flip that you're like, oh, it's finally starting to work?
I wouldn't say there was necessarily like a single flip, but there was a period of like a few months where suddenly it was like, okay, things are starting to actually coalesce a little bit. You mentioned Chamber of Commerce things. That's wherever you are, look up your local Chamber of Commerce because they're not all the same. Where we are in Frederick, Maryland, we have an amazing Chamber of Commerce. It's very active. There's a lot of variety in there. There's a lot of young people in there, which has been super cool to see. But I remember my first time I went to a chamber event. And I was like, okay, I'm going to walk into this thing. It's just like it's a business card exchange. So everyone's just there to chat and network. And I was like, I'm going to walk in. I'm going to walk out with a client.
This is so good. I'm so ready for this.
And it's like, guess what? That is not what happened. And that is not what happened for months. I don't think I've ever walked out of a chamber event being like, oh, cool, I want a client off that. It is strictly relationship building. And it's an investment. You're planting that seed. So like I went to like 3 or 4 chamber events a month for probably like 6 or 8 months before I had something where I could draw a line from, oh, a conversation I had at a chamber event to I got a gig off of this. But now, what's funny is now, like I go to chamber events and I've been going to them so regularly, like these are my people now. So like and I say it's we now because I've got, other people on the team who go with me to these chamber events. They know, oh, you guys are the donut guys. Like, at the very least, people know that. They've heard the name. Like, they're starting to...
They've seen the advertisement.
They've seen the advertisements. They've seen this. But so we're starting to become known, which is something I never had when I was just an individual. So that's
building
the
a brand.
thing.
That's an interesting thing, too.
Building a brand and also building a team. Because, so you talk about, like, the flexibility that being an entrepreneur or business owner lends you. It's like, oh yeah, I can just say I'm not working this afternoon because I have a thing or whatever. For those first, like probably that first year, I was killing myself working on stuff, which like you need to do. But I was working like 15 hours a day. And like the idea of like going to sleep, I felt guilty about that because I was like, I know I need to be doing more stuff. I need to be sending more emails. I need to be, writing more proposals. I need to be doing whatever. The big shift that happened, there were 2 big shifts that happened in my career. One was leaving Discovery and transitioning from W-2 to freelance. And the other was when I met my now co-owner, business partner, Brian. at a Chamber of Commerce event. And we started working together on like some shoots. We were both video people.
Yeah.
We were doing some stuff, collaborating. And then eventually he was the one who actually said, we could like join forces and make this an actual thing.
Yeah.
And man, that was a switch for me, because I had been thinking like, oh yeah, I might like maybe have some contractors I work with or whatever. The idea of it being like, oh, I have a co-owner or a whatever. It took me a few days to like sit with that and like kind of process what does that even look like? Like my whole mental map of my trajectory completely changed.
I think I won't put words into your mouth, but what I've heard from others is whether it's bringing on a partner or building a team, you go from the business is just me. Like I'm trading my time and I'm just getting some money for it too. I am building a business that is separate from me, that I need to think about like, what is that as a brand? What does that look like to my customers and clients? Like it becomes very separate, and the idea of profitability and the idea of the value in it becomes, it's like wholly separate from you too. And so it really does kind of break your brain in a little bit. And you don't, I won't proclaim this for you, but like you didn't realize how much it was you until you start thinking of it that way, and like, wow, I need to build this as its own entity separate from me.
Yeah. I know some people thrive on the I'm a solopreneur, I'm a freelancer, like everything is me. The buck stops with me. Everything happens because I do it.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a certain amount of like, you have some control over that. But man, it makes it so much more difficult to actually do that like sustainably.
Yeah.
Because like you just burn yourself out.
Everyone.
Just
everything.
In a different way. Yeah. So when suddenly it was like, oh, I have another person I can rely on for something. It's like, oh, I have a shoot that came up on this day, and I have a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Brian can handle it. And now the fact that like I'm able to make time because we have a team who is, the wheel is always turning, the motor's always running somewhere somehow. I can say, okay, I'm taking the morning to spend the morning with my daughter.
Yeah.
And then I'm coming in the afternoon. Stuff is happening in the morning. And then I can come in and do my stuff in the afternoon. And then when I leave, someone else is usually still here, like working away on something. And, someone might not even be in the office. They're off somewhere else. And I'm texting them about, XYZ. We're sending emails. We're planning things. That is the thing where, yes, you have the flexibility, but you can't do everything yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe that's not necessarily the path for everyone. But man, the difference that it makes when you have someone who is in the trenches with you.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first thing that I thought when the idea of having a co-owner happened, I was like, oh, I'm cutting my potential profit in half, because half of it goes to them and half of it goes to me. And what ended up happening was within a few months of us joining forces, we were making more than twice what we had been individually.
1 + 1 doesn't equal 2.
100%.
It equals 5. And then you add another one and the 3 equals 10. Like
yes.
if you can do it right, because I think a lot of people become their own bottlenecks, but it feels like, and it sounds like you have been able to figure that out, where it's lean into what you're good at, lean into what you enjoy, offload some of the other stuff too, hire correctly as you need to, but like it can be so much more than the sum of its parts.
Absolutely. And like saying I figured it out feels a little ambitious. I would say
you are figuring it out. Okay,
yeah.
There we go.
Figuring it out. And like that's a thing where it's like every few months I feel like we hit a new threshold where it's like, oh, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I don't have the like, you have a finite amount of time every day, and I don't have the time to keep working on this. I've had to offload some things that are some of my favorite parts of what I do in this industry, like post-production stuff, editing. Had to bring on another editor who now edits more than I do, which is weird to think about. I always said for a long time, I'm like, never take me out of that chair.
Yeah.
I like being hands-on with the content.
Yeah.
I related it to, this is a nerdy Star Trek reference, but like they always talk about it, in Star Trek, they always say like, oh, if you're the captain, you are there. You can make a difference. Don't let them promote you to admiral, because then you're just pushing pencils and like, no, be a captain.
So now you're pushing pencils?
Kind of. Like I spend more of my day planning and strategizing and assigning things for the business than I do actually working on the product or the content, which is weird.
It is weird. But I guess that leads me to last 2 questions for you. One is, even with all that said, can you imagine going back?
Absolutely not. My gosh. Honestly, the minute I walked out of the Discovery Office
Yeah.
doors for the last time,
Yeah.
I knew in that moment I could never go back.
Yeah. And not just that company, but just a W-2 job working
Just,
for someone
just the whole,
else of
just
like,
conceptually, the idea
yeah,
of going back to that structured thing. And the one thing I will say is, because we hinted at this of like, oh, you're giving up so much stability and structure and all this stuff. Yes, but you hinted at it's like it's kind of an illusion
it is.
where, because again, I got laid off
Yeah.
along with hundreds of other people
And you were
after.
not how many rounds after you, and continue to happen too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, most of the team that I work with, there's like one person from my original team that's still there.
Which is unfortunately you are the, I don't know, I won't say winner, but you end up staying, but now you've taken on your whole team's work too. So it's not like the work goes away, even though the
Right.
people do. So it
Yeah.
ends up being,
The phrase that I used talking with my wife about it in, one of my nightly counseling sessions with her in those early days was, I am making my own stability now.
yeah,
When you're working a W-2 job, whether you're going to get laid off or not is honestly, and none of that is under your control.
yeah, yeah.
It is just, the decision is being made
Yeah.
several
And it's
floors
oftentimes
above
nothing
you.
personal or your performance. It's just,
Yeah,
the
it's
market, it's the tariffs, it's everything that's happening.
you're a
right now.
line on a spreadsheet, and if the numbers say that you got to go, then
Yeah.
okay, I guess you're going. Whereas here, like,
Yeah.
well, I own the business, so it's like, what am I going to do? Lay myself off? No. But it's like, okay, I'm not making enough money. I don't think I'm doing what I need to be doing. Cool.
Yeah.
I can put more effort in, and I can actually move that needle.
Like it or not, it kind of comes back to you of like what you need to do,
Mhm.
put yourself out there more, the pricing, whatever it may be. Well, so then last question for you, and this is a leading question, but I love asking this.
Go for it.
What is success to you now? Because I know we can get wrapped up, especially in the W-2 jobs, of our title and the company we work for and our salary. And a lot of times we leave for more flexibility and whatever it may be. So what is it to you? What makes it a happy, working in this business and doing what you're doing now?
I think it's a few things. One of the first things I thought of was, I want to be making cool stuff.
Yeah.
I want to be making cool content. Is everything that I do, now like a masterpiece or something? I'm like, oh yeah, that's super exciting. No, sometimes it's like, okay, this is a corporate training video. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll give it our best. It'll look good,
Yeah.
but I'm not,
Like really leaning
I'm not
into
like
creativity,
I'm
creatively.
not giddy about talking
like
about
this
info
project, you're super giddy about right now.
naturally. Oh,
Obviously.
I'm bouncing off the walls in my head. But like being able to do cool things,
Yeah.
interesting things, a variety of things. That was a big part of it.
Mhm.
It has evolved since then a little bit to, yes, I want to make cool content. I want to be doing cool things. But now that we have this team that we are putting together, there's two people behind the cameras right now, staring at us. Alex, Barry, hi. The fact that I have been able to bring on those people,
Yeah.
and I'm able to say, hey, you guys can, get that same kind of creative hit
Yeah.
that I'm getting, and make it and make it your bit. They're able to do
You
the
like
same.
share your passion with others that love doing it too. So it's super cool.
Right.
Think
And
about
I'm
that.
also kind of like, I don't want to say that I'm able to like maybe save some people from the W-2 world, but like, so it's like, hey,
It's
here's
like the wizard, like the Wizard of Oz behind you're like saving him from this. Yeah. He's behind the
no,
curtain.
don't go that route. That way lies madness. But being able to say like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm able to like create this environment where like there are multiple people who are they're doing work that they love. They are getting they're getting what they deserve in return.
Yeah.
And we're able to like have a good time while we're doing it. It's like, I'm trying to build the place that I would have loved to have
I
gone
love that.
in a 9 to 5 for
Yeah.
those, 10 years.
If that can be
was.
your like guiding for like kind of your mission statement, I love that. Is like build not only the work environment, but also the type of work that I would have loved to do, when you were in your W-2.
That's 1,000% what it is.
I love
Yeah.
that. Okay. So remind everyone your business, how they can reach out to you. Are you just Maryland based, or if people are
We're
nationally
based in
aware?
Maryland. I mean, if the budget's right, we'll fly anywhere.
Yeah.
We're in like Baltimore to DC area.
Okay.
We've done some stuff in New Jersey and New York, but we have clients all the way out in California, and we've done stuff with people out in London, which is super fun.
Yeah.
So purpledonutstudios.com. It's
Find
fairly
you
easy name
there.
to think about. We can have
How did
another.
you come up with that name? I guess last question. How'd that come up?
It is.
You like donuts?
Well, yes. But when Brian and I joined forces, we
Yeah.
were like, we're doing something bigger than us. We're not trading on our name anymore. We want something that is iconic,
Build a brand separate.
that is recognizable. It was my wife that came up with the
Really?
donut part. Yeah. And I was resistant to it. I didn't think it made sense. I was like, we're not a bakery. But she snuck it into a list that got sent over to Brian. He was like, I like donut. I was like, okay, I'm outvoted. It was 100% the right move. I mean, talking about brand building is a whole other thing, but having a unique,
And people remember it.
it totally works. When I was a freelancer, my company when I was freelancing solo was just Harris Makers. No one ever remembered that name.
Which, like, okay, your name, a play on your name too, but like something about purple donut. I'm like, I don't know, like you're going to remember that
it
versus
catches in.
A lot of the like legal term, like you kind of have people's last name LLC a lot of times, or not really.
I mean, you look at production companies, like you go to the movies, you see all the production company names, they're all crazy.
Yeah.
So
they're all fun names.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I love it. And your logo and your brand is really fun and cool too. So hopefully that's a reflection of the work environment you're trying to create too. And
I
what
think
you guys
it is.
are doing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on this podcast. I appreciate it. Sharing your story. I know every time we share, my hope is that every time someone shares their story, others that are listening can see what's possible, can get excited. No, it's not easy, but there's so much, it can be so much better and so much opportunity out there for you to build your own future.
Absolutely. Take the risk.
Yeah.
Take the jump.
Take the jump. Take the jump. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke.
Hey there. If this episode sparks something for you, I'd really love to know. Shoot me an email or leave me a comment on the episode. Those messages really do mean more to me than you realize. And if you're craving more clarity in your business or your career, you can explore ways to work together at www.scalewithclarity.com. You guys, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to the episode. I always love recording these and sharing them with you, and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Scale with Clarity.